You are listening to the Overwatch League Network, the podcast with Deadeye on all the Overwatch League news and information. The show with Tactical Visor on the statistics and analysis. Here are your hosts, Totally Drunk, Spider, and Slambo.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to Overwatch League Network, the podcast with Deadeye on all the latest Overwatch League news, information, and esports analysis. I am your host, Totally Drunk, brought back from the dead after having a flu all week. Sorry about that, guys. I had to basically skip out on almost an entire week of podcasting. But tonight we have episode 112. It is opening week of the 2020 season. We got some big news that we're going to jump into here in just a little bit. But before we can do that and introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show. And of course, I have to thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight, as always, are both of my co-hosts. Up first, we have Nura, who recently had been doing a little bit of trolling on the social media here.
Yeah, I became a XX Glads fan, 69, and I just wanted to bring some trash talk into the game, and just it was the worst trash talk you can give, at least some. But I got tired of it pretty fast. So there's some scheduled tweets coming out soon, but other than that, it's almost done.
So basically, you just got tired of playing the villain, and it was only like a couple of days.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunate you gave up so soon. But anyways, we also have Booger. Booger, thank you again for stepping up this past week and kind of leading the charge there.
No problem. I've been this past week trying to play as much Overwatch as I could fit in because I know that I'm going to be watching a lot of it moving forward. So tried to get into the last bit of SR grind I could. Did not go well, but you know, it's all about fun at the end of the day. So now I'll look forward to seeing how Overwatch is supposed to be played. So that's pretty exciting.
Well, I mean, I guess on a positive note, since I wasn't playing, you actually got to play the role that you wanted.
I like to switch it up sometimes. I actually played the Omnic Lab game night and spent some time playing Brig, and it was kind of fun. I got to play with Blaze and Bob, and we pulled off a notable upset, I would say.
I'm sure Bob will tell me all about it. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the news. We got a lot to kind of go over tonight. As, you know, the season kind of gets underway on Saturday, coming up pretty quickly here. So first off, in case you guys did not know, the new Overwatch League merch from Staple Pigeon is available to pre-order on the website now. Now, I'll be honest, when I saw this initially, you know, just based off of the previews, you know, I was feeling pretty good about how everything was going to look. And then we saw the collection in its entirety, and my opinion definitely changed based off of that. Primarily from some of the really off-kiltered text choices for some of the team jerseys in particular. But a lot of people have been kind of like calling out how, you know, a lot of them have like white as a primary color for the home jerseys. And then like the away ones are primarily black. They don't really differentiate a whole lot in regards to the actual designs. But if you are wanting some of these Staple Pigeon jerseys, you can get them for $89.99. Now, the bad news is, well, not only is that, you know, a pretty hefty price tag, but these jerseys are not going to be shipped out until March. Now, on the bright side, a ton of, like, the 2019 gear is marked down on the gear store as well. So I know I definitely hit that up, bought 3 new jerseys, which should be here any day now, before the season starts, unlike this stuff. And I know Edinar was doing the same, and, you know, like, I'm sure all of us at this point have had some gripes about the new stuff, and while I don't totally dislike the design, it definitely kind of got less appealing the more I saw of it. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on the fact that the baseline price is $90 and maybe what you expect to see in regards to, other price points for the collection, whether it is like the custom jerseys, which are more than likely to be over $100, or even some of the other stuff like the hoodies or the leggings, things like that.
Okay, so I was digging the new jerseys until I saw the price tag, and that just it doesn't sit well with me. I never bought the other jerseys until they would go on sale. I picked up on the recent sale. I picked up a Houston Outlaws third kit one, and it was about $30 on sale, and I found that reasonable. The new ones, part of what's cool about them is they're not so like in your face flashy that you could wear it around and not like have a spotlight on you.
Hmm.
But the fact that they're $90, I'm not gonna want to wear that around to risk messing it up. It would like go on to watch the game and then back on a neat little hanger.
Hmm.
Like it kind of eliminates some of the upsides by making them so expensive. You know it like the best part about the new jerseys coming out was that it made some of the one of the old ones cheap enough for me to afford. Like it just the price tag it was like turned me all the way away. Like they look cool, but not not for $90. And then the player ones are going to be over 100. So I'm gonna definitely wait for that to be on a mega sale.
Right. For me, I'm definitely waiting for a sale, but at the end of the day, I'm just gonna wait for the long sleeve jerseys to come out and the
Mhm.
player jerseys. Because if I'm gonna buy one, it's gonna be the best one possible. If it's this expensive, I'm gonna pay extra $50 to get whatever I want. Whichever player I like on the Glads that week, I'll probably buy. Uh, for me, I really like the jerseys. I think it's. I think they're. I think they're nice. These jerseys they're very thin. I don't like wearing them, to be honest. With the new ones, I feel like I could wear them in most places, and if I'm wearing like the away ones, and it's just like whatever city it is, I don't have to explain what the jersey is all the time. I think that's gonna be really nice. As much as I love talking about Overwatch League, I don't like talking about it all the time. For me, I wear this jersey, uh, and then I for the games, and I hang it back up anyway. So
Mhm.
it's like for me, I still do that. I'll probably still do that for most of them, but I feel like for these, I actually would rather wear these out compared to the old ones. With that being said, I think Gladiators jerseys kind of got chubbed a little bit
Mm.
compared to the other ones. I don't think the purple's as good as the previous, but
Or the
it's all
Times
right.
New Roman.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta hit them with the Times New Roman. I'm not too mad about that.
I mean, sometimes you just have to keep things basic. Is that what you're trying to tell me with the design philosophy
Yeah,
here?
yeah. Just be like, hey, this is Vancouver.
I would say that I don't like wearing jerseys, but I'm kind of wearing one now. And this is one I wear all the time, primarily because it's kind of a relic at this point, because this team doesn't exist, at least anymore. Because it's kind of banned for one,
Hey,
because this was the one I wanted to give away. But like we're used to spending like $40 to $60 essentially for like the base versions of the jersey. So for this to come out at 90, it's just like, oh, it felt like a low blow at the time. Now with that being said, I'm still waiting to see what the quality of the jerseys actually are. I don't really know too many people that have bought one as of yet. And besides, we're not going to know how the quality is until March. So once we start to see some reviews coming in, maybe I'll take a second look at this regardless of if they're going on sale or not. But I did pick up, a Gushue third kit jersey for like $29. That was marked down. I picked up 2 player jerseys for Michelle and one for Hoxel. And, they were like $34, $42 basically. So Now I spent like $110 and I got 3 jerseys that are player jerseys, so I cannot complain on that part. So I'm just excited for that stuff to come in because I'll have them handy going into the opening weekend. Now that being said, though, of course, things are going to be looking a little bit differently. We're still waiting on full details in regards to the Honor talent, but we do know that Reinforce is joining the analyst desk here, joining Zoe and Custa.
Yeah, and Reinforce, he was in the been off and on with the league. He made some appearances through the last season, and season 1 he was, I believe, part of the analyst desk. That's been a minute ago. So he's like no stranger to the Overwatch scene, and it's not really a big surprise that they would put him onto the desk. He's kind of one of the ones that would be highly expected to to be on the Overwatch League desk. Anura, what do you think about Reinforce?
I think this is justice for Reinforce that we tried to get last season after he got kicked out of the desk. He's a great talent. I really think he's grown a lot since season 1. I think he's learned a lot. I feel like the mistakes he made, if there was a lot of them, he's learned from them, and I think he's going to bring a lot to the desk. It looks like the desk is going to be a lot more higher skill based than Sideshow and Bren. So it's gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be different for sure.
I can already
that
feel
happened.
my voice is going, and we are just started, essentially. Fantastic. It's gonna be a rough go.
It's Hey, at least you survived the coronavirus this time around. But yeah, it's like Reinforce. I feel like he was kind of like a duh to join the desk. And you did bring up a good point, under. I think the average SR of the desk and the analyst this season has been way up. So overall, that's probably just going to give better looks into the game, especially for like new fans and stuff like that. So I think having Reinforce on the desk will be overall positive for this season.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So outside of that, we also got an update from the LA Valiant, who have released one of their players, and this was confirmed by their GM, Mike Schwartz, that being Flex Support Slur. I don't want to die mid-podcast, but anyways, like, we haven't had a formal announcement about the release as of yet, but there were some racial slurs used a couple of years ago, and we don't know whether or not that kind of like coincides with the release of said player. But it does mean Lastro is basically taking over for that starting spot moving forward.
Yeah, about the slur. Maybe think before you say this is for anyone. For sure, because this really hurt his career. It sucks to see someone lose just because of stupid things like typing something when you're frustrated, or just typing something because you think it's not going to affect you when it obviously will. With that being said, I don't think Slur was going to play. I think Lastro had the position anyway. I don't think this is a big loss for Valiant. I think it's a bigger loss for Slur. He's not going to get a shot. I don't see him getting his shot ever again, which when that happens, it happens. You just watch what you say for sure. I mean, I spew a lot of crap on Twitter, but it's not like it's not like that. You know, you gotta
Yeah.
be good about it. You know, and you shouldn't be saying that anyway, for sure. Whatever he said, which I'm sure there's some stuff you can find if you dig deep. What about you, Booger? What do you think about it?
I mean, he didn't even make it to the start of the season without
Nope.
controversy. The Valiant are better off without him. You don't want to end up having to replace somebody once you start playing with them. Like, I'm not sure how old that player is, but it sounds like a very juvenile thing. Like, they said it was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, learn. It's weird. I did, like, when I was a kid, we didn't post everything on the internet, so it's like a different world for people to grow up in. But like, don't say shitty things. Like, it's not that hard to be nice to people. So I mean, overall, it's a win for the Valiant. They're better off, and he can go on to probably never be in the Overwatch League again, and the end of his story's right there.
Yeah, I was just looking up his Wikipedia. He is 21. So he's 19 at
Yeah,
the time.
they should. That should be old enough to know better, for real.
For real. Also, like, maybe don't name yourself Slur if you said slurs in the past. It's probably a lot easier to find out. It's
Yeah,
very
the writing
ironic
on
that
the
this
wall
is.
was right on his name tag.
Yeah, it's like, hey, look what I did. It's
Coincidental.
very ironic. Yeah, exactly. It is coincidental, but it's very funny. I find. It sucks for him. I hope he learns from this. I hope he doesn't believe what he says, but you never know.
So outside of that, we also got 2 new signings from the Atlanta Reign, which were announced via their team roster reveal. One of them was kind of a given, knowing that, well, he was already with this team in the past year, that being their flex support, Kodak, who had spent the past 6 months playing on ATL Academy. So along with Kodak, they also signed another support player, who is coming from Team Envy, and this was dating back all the way to 2018, that being their main support, Fire. Quick spoiler, their other support also got picked up. More on that later. But basically, Kodak had competed on the Reign this past season. He found some pretty early success until Dogman kind of took over the role for the Reign. And then, he can continue to yell things during matches. He fed at times, said Cruz was the feeder, all of that good stuff. Everyone loves Dogman being the villain, all of that good stuff. And Kodak, really helped ATL Academy along the way as they were one of the more prominent NA teams. And honestly, one of the better teams across the globe when you look at the inter-regional competition. So you got, Atlanta coming in with a full 12-man roster this season.
Yeah, Kodak is definitely where he's been with the Atlanta Reign. I think them adding him might have had something to do with hero pools and needed more flexibility. And Fire it seems like a more of a backup behind Massa. I don't think that Massa is going to see a whole lot of the bench, but if a situation arises, they're definitely covered now. So that is good. That Atlanta, their announcement video that they put out, that was like really cool. That was high quality. That was one of the best announcement videos I've seen from any of the teams so far. What do you think, Anura?
I think these are great support pickups. I feel like if it wasn't Atlanta, both of these people could be starting for some of the lower teams, and they might be in the mid-season. These are easy pickups later on, easy trades. I think Kodak's a great flex support, and he can really contest with Dogman for the starting position. I really like Fire as well. I think Fire is very underrated, and if a team really needs a main support, like maybe Dallas Fuel needs soon, not saying anything particularly, but maybe they might need one, which they could have picked him up earlier. But
You're baited me. I see what you're trying to do.
yeah. But let's just say it'd be a pretty fire pickup for them. But I think both of these guys are great contender talents turning into Overwatch League talent. And also this would be really good for scrim practice. They got 12 man. They can scrim with them. Whoever plays better might be able to play during that game. Also, with something we're going to talk about later, maybe we could see two teams on one team just switching between weeks. But that's just like a little theory, I'd say.
Potentially.
Potential theory.
Well, regardless of who started on Atlanta, there's kind of a bigger elephant in the room that we need to talk about in regards to the Overwatch League this season, especially at the beginning. Now, obviously, everyone is, at this point, probably heard about everything that's been going on in China with the coronavirus, and we do know that, there have been other esports that have postponed events that were scheduled to happen in China, and the Overwatch League has done the same, with 5 homestands being postponed. Now, these are all taking place within the first 2 months. This will be in February and March. And, they keep using the word cancellation, so I don't know what the plan is for all of these matches. but there are 27 games over the first 2 months that are being affected by this, mostly within the Pacific West and the Pacific East. And I was kind of like looking at, well, like, how bad is it for some teams? And Shanghai, as it stands right now, won't play until week 11 of the Overwatch League season. You have at different points. I'm looking at 6 weeks out of the first 8 weeks of the season where over half of the teams are now going to be on a bye week. And you have situations where, like, say Valiant, they play open in a weekend, but then they have 6 straight weeks off, or you have 5 teams only playing in one homestand during, this span, over the first 2 months, and that impacts the Hunters, the Charge, Spark, Valiant, Dynasty. It's basically a huge mess right now, and it impacts, the league. It impacts, ticket sales. Obviously, I know the Spark were offering refunds for their homestand events. It's a huge blow to Fantasy Overwatch League because we don't know like what the status of these games are going to be. But regardless, like, the player safety has to come first, and it is worth noting, like, the teams have been going ahead and moving to, like, South Korea. You got the Charge relocating, the Dragons did, and the Hunters are really the only team at this point who have stayed put in China. And, that might be just due to the availability of visas kind of being at the forefront of that. But, this is something that has been impacting a lot of different esports. It's had really a global effect with, cases kind of happening more and more here as of late. So, what do you guys think is going to be the solution? Like, is there going to be games rescheduled? Is there an off shot that potentially we might have online play to determine some of these matches, as maybe not ideal as that could be, like, for a professional standpoint for, like, quality of games, so to speak?
I mean, it's like a tragic situation, but they had to cancel it and just kind of figure out what to do. It's also kind of like, is the situation going to be calmed down by March? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there really could be even more games affected by this. And, while it might be frustrating and all that kind of stuff for viewers, but you got to think about the people there actually that would be working the events and attending. Like, that's not a good situation to be in. So it's definitely the right move to cancel them. But what are they going to do? Is there going to be a way that maybe they could have the games played not online but like on LAN, and just not have audiences and just put it on like online and stream it? Or are they going to maybe try to use some of the bye weeks that they scheduled in, or even that mid-season break, to try to make up some games? They could try tacking them on to other homestands, or even just completely adding in homestands. But
To
no
to that
matter,
to that point, Booger, I do want to mention, like, if you haven't played by mid-season, you can't qualify for the mid-season tournament.
oh, that is, there is, I believe, 27 weeks this season. So teams that are missing, I know, 9 and 10 weeks, that really is over a third of the season before they'll be able to play. So this is honestly, I think that one of the best things they could do is just have the teams maybe play somewhere entirely for the whole season. If they have to have them go to South Korea, or even station them somewhere in Europe or North America, and just completely just like let China cool down just a little bit and see if there's can be some progress made to kind of stop this virus. We don't want yeah, we don't want to put anybody's safety in like, we don't want anybody to be unsafe so that we can watch some games online. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
not what needs to happen. So it's like canceling the games, even with what to do is unsure, is still the right thing to do, because you can figure out when to play some games or how to replace them. Like, that's not impossible to do. It's just slightly inconvenient.
Right. There's like 1,000 ways you can do this. 1,000 ways you can make the games. You can extend the season. You can do a lot of things. We don't know what they're going to do yet. I know some teams are actually going to still. Some of the NA teams are still going to move over to South Korea during the time they're supposed to go to China, just because they have the South Korean games during the Seoul Dynasty homestand on week 5. But with that being said, like there's rumors of online games happening. There's a lot of rumors of things happening that we don't know yet. I'm sure we'll get more on it in the coming weeks, but for right now, I'm glad they took initiative and just said, hey, these games are gonna be canceled because it's not safe.
Well, what do you think we would have to do if even more games need to get canceled? At a certain point, do you think that they need to just be like, okay, these Chinese homestands, we're moving them somewhere else, like way ahead of time, and just go about with the whole season? Because, this is still a relatively new development. I do not see the problem being solved just by March. Like, this is a bigger issue than that. So I don't really know. Like, this really could be more than just the February and March homestands.
I mean, of course it would. It's definitely an option, but for right now, we just need to get the immediate future, and if anything else happens, we'll move on from there. I think.
Yeah, it's one of the things where you basically have to just live in a moment and take it day by
Right.
day.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there's a breakthrough, great. And if there's not, then it's time to go to the well, essentially. For what the backup plan would be at that point. I would not be opposed to just have them just station everything in South Korea at that point, since, well, one, we know that they're going to have the infrastructure in place already for any sort of land competition. But, there's a number of different ways that they could do it. But at the end of the day, health comes first for everyone, players and attendees included. Now, that being said, there is another major development that happened here recently, and that was with the return of your dev and savior, Papa Jeffrey Cap, praise him, who brought us a new developer update. And it had been months since we had seen Jeff. And, he has some interesting things to talk about, not just for the game, but for the Overwatch League. Now, everyone was like, oh my god, what's this going to be? Everyone was like, oh, hero bans are coming to the game. Sort of? We got hero pools coming to the game, as well as the Overwatch League, and this will start on March 7th for the Overwatch League. So how this is going to work is we're going to have 1 tank, 1 support, 2 damage heroes disabled during the weekend. So hero pools are going to be based on play rate data from the previous 2 weekends of play. And, they say, like, only heroes that are being played regularly can be pulled from the next hero pool. So I doubt that means Torb is ever going to get dev banned, by the system based off of data. But basically, players are going to be given a week's notice of the hero pool changes. And then the pools themselves will not be active during the midseason tournament, playoffs, play-ins, as well as the grand finals. So the other major caveat to this is heroes cannot be disabled in back-to-back weekends. So I don't know if that means we're going to alternate between, like, 8 heroes primarily, or if we're just going to keep seeing new heroes kind of entering the fold in that regard. But this is a major change to not only the game, but the Overwatch League. And I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on this. Where are you guys sitting in regards to the new update?
So I like the update. I like the idea of hero pools. I like the idea of keeping it fresh for the viewers. I don't like that it's a week. I think the one thing I don't like is that it's just 1 week. You have a week. This is the week you can't play these heroes, and then literally the next week you have to do that again. All these teams are traveling a lot. They're traveling a lot, and then they have to scrim about this meta that they have to make up and 3 to 5 days, and then they play it, maybe one game, maybe two, and then they have to move on from there. I wish it was longer. I'd want 2 to 3 weeks of this fake meta to be really realized, and then they move on. I think both you can see the way they adapt it would be super cool, because honestly 3 weeks should be enough at the end of it to show like what the meta would actually be, um, as well as really just like how much it would change if these heroes were no longer in the game. Also, it could also help, like, because they said the PTR patches are 2 week periods. So you can literally have a week where the most OP heroes are banned, and then literally before they come back, before they get patched, they're already back in the Overwatch League. I don't agree with that personally. For me, I'd really want longer weeks for them. Other than that, I love the hero pool system. I think it's great because I think hero bans would just lead to mirror banning and like banning non-meta characters over anything else. So that's really where I'm at with this hero pool situation. I think it's going to show that a lot of teams can flex a lot more than you thought.
Yeah, I definitely think that a week is a little bit too short because, uh, well, what I think is going to end up happening is there's going to be a couple dominant strategies that you're going to see teams rotating through when the necessary heroes are in the pool. So I think you're going to see, like, depending on which heroes are in available, you'll see heavy bunker weeks versus heavy dive weeks versus maybe like the Ryan Zarya comp, stuff like that. We're going to see, and we'll probably see those different type of comps rotating, and there'll probably be teams establishing who's the better dive team, who's the better Ryan Zarya team, and I think that with only 1 week, say that the hero pool is very favorable to certain teams, like maybe all the Doomfist counters are banned for a week, and it just happens Philly's on bye week, so we never see Chipsa. Like, we definitely want to see
Oh no.
longer than a week period. Like, they definitely, it should be slightly longer, but I do like that it's going to be quick and rapid. I think that that's a positive, but I do think that it would be good to at least see every team or most teams play on the certain hero pools. I know with the cancellations for the first week, there are a bunch of teams not
We
playing.
can't wait
So we
11
would,
weeks for Shanghai.
yeah, yeah. But say if that wasn't happening, like every
Mhm.
team would have played in the first like 2 to 3 weeks, and I think that that would end up being a more rational thing than every week. And I also could see that happening before the end of the season for them to change it, because that was one of the things of the dev update, is that they would be more willing to try things and pull it back if necessary,
Right.
and they'd be more willing to make quicker changes. So I would think that maybe we'll get one season of live with 1 week hero pools, and I think by the next season it'll be longer. Um, One thing I also like to compare it to, even though it's vastly different, is they got a lot of positive feedback for the map pools, adding that into comp.
Mhm.
So I think that looking at it in the same way, we're like, it would make the game more complicated to add a map choice and a map ban and votes, and then the hero votes and bans, and that ends up being like a lot more to add to the game. So by doing it this to add the pools, it makes it so that you don't have that feeling, I know, of like joining the game and then finding out you don't get to play what you want. You know, you kind of go into it, and I think that just the 1 week is definitely way too short. And I almost think that we could gamble on how long it'll be until they extend the hero pool time period.
Heck, Jeff even said they could change every match if they wanted to.
That would, that's heck, play mystery heroes.
Might as well.
Who's the
Competitive
most
mystery heroes, let's
flexible
go.
mystery heroes?
I think some of the teams are arguing with some of the higher ups right now about what's happening. I could see them being like, "Well, hero pools. If you want hero pools, we're gonna need more time on it." I'm sure some teams are like, I'm traveling every week. I don't have time to make metas for this. It's gonna kill our players. It's gonna kill our coaches. I can see them actually arguing to like extend because it's so early and like they have so much time to like change what's going to happen. I could see a lot of teams arguing about like if this is right or wrong because they didn't know about it until the day before the dev update. I'm pretty sure, and by that time, I'm sure they also had NDAs up the wazoo, so they couldn't talk about it until the day of. With that being said, you never know. I think this could change. I think right now, I think it's fine. I like it. I think Gladiators might thrive off of it. I think a lot of teams. I think Spark won't. Um, there's a lot of teams that could really this could help or hurt, and I think that's something that we could really see happening later on.
Well, we won't know
Like,
until a month.
yeah, and like
Exactly.
with their travel, like how in the world are they supposed to be practicing up with like this specific hero pools unless they're like playing on a Nintendo Switch in an airport? Like, what are they gonna do in a week? Especially if you think about a team traveling internationally, that's not like a 1 day thing. That's gonna be a
Mhm.
couple days. By the time you make it back, it's time to go. So definitely think that this is going to be longer than week. It's a good idea though.
I'd
I
vote
enjoy it.
just tie it with whenever they patch in Overwatch League.
Yeah,
That would be the
seems
best
like
bet. Which would be a perfect segue, because we are bringing back a segment to the show. And anyone who listened in, I don't want to say the past season, because that's technically not true in a podcast sense, but past season in the Overwatch League, we had a couple of different segments that we'd introduced over the course of the season. One of which we're bringing back this week, and we'll have stock up and stock down here. Uh, Probably closer towards March 7th when the hero pools are introduced, because that would be a perfect thing to tie into that one in particular. But we're going to be bringing back Fact or Fiction. So normally how this works is, every week each one of us will bring in a topic to discuss on the show, and we'll, share whether or not we agree or disagree with whatever the comment is. My voice is shot, as you guys can probably tell, so I am not going to give my opinions on these since I did write all of them, so I'm going to defer to both of you guys on this. So a couple of them are going to tie into basically the Overwatch League when it comes to what their goal is for patching the game from live to the Overwatch League, which has been a pretty hot community topic here, especially the entirety of this past season. Obvious reasons, stage 1 through 3. Uh, we're going to talk about hero pools and the impact it can have on the league as a whole in regards to where we rank teams. And, another topic that's been on the community's mind in regards to the whole YouTube move and whether or not we'll get something similar to what we had on Twitch for extra information, so to speak. So, Nura, I'm going to throw this one to you first, and then we'll just alternate between each one. So, OWL sent out during this whole hero pool discussion that it is basically what their plan is for the patch-in. Is live updates are going to come to the Overwatch League 2 weeks after it hits live servers. Fact or Fiction, the Overwatch League will consistently be able to hit that window for patches.
I think the Overwatch League will. I don't know if Overwatch itself will. With that, there's could be weeks where they take longer to patch certain things. I don't. I never. We really haven't seen them be consistently good with patches. With that being said, I think as soon as the 2 week mark hits for Overwatch League, it will be in there. I think they're going to be really strict about that. But for Overwatch, for their dev team and their PTR team, whatever you want to call it, I don't think they're going to hit their marks. I think it's a big task for them to fix these heroes so fast, and unless we we see it consistently for further on, I don't believe they're going to hit their mark.
Yeah, I think the once the patch hits live, 2 weeks from there, will be in the Overwatch League. I think that's totally fact. But in the developer update, Jeff definitely talked at multiple times about how they wanted their balance patches to be rolling out faster. And I think that will probably be true come Overwatch 2. I think that we're still going to see some delays between balance patches for Overwatch 1. And I think that probably due to a lot of the employees be working on Overwatch 2. So I would say that it's totally fact that they'll be hitting the Overwatch League 2 weeks after going live, but they might be a little bit delayed going live. I think I agree with you on that one for sure. We just haven't seen it happen. Like there's the last two updates, they came pretty quick, but there was like some big gaps in between before those last two, like pretty big gaps. So I'm gonna say fact and fiction.
Cop out answer. I will point out though that yes, we just did have two updates. That was less than 2 weeks apart. One of them was a hot fix for a sub patch for patch 1.44, which is the Overwatch League patch, which actually had balance updates as well. That's the first time since the game came out where a hot fix patch was able to do that. So I'm pretty confident that they'll be able to hit that window. And being able to see two quick succession patches like that at the magnitude that they had in regards to the overall game and the balance is a very good sign moving forward. Hopefully they'll be able to keep it up on that front. But anyways, we talked about hero pools, and we kind of just finished our power rankings here lately. I didn't unveil my top 5, but you can guarantee who was on top because it's pretty obvious. Since I kind of hinted at it already, since they were top by default. But power rankings should be thrown out the window due to the hero pool announcement. Fact or fiction, guys?
I'll say fiction on that one. You don't have to throw them out the window. The Shock still stays number one. I think all the teams that we had top 5, I think they all stay top 5. There will be some minor changes in power rankings, but I don't think they go out the window. Like I think some teams, I'm going to say the Hunters might have a little bit stronger now because, they have Leave who played over 20 heroes in World Cup. So they're definitely going to be equipped. Like there's teams like that, like Soul, they've got Prophet. He's plays almost everything high level. So like the teams that were really good are going to stay really good. Maybe a team like the Spark, like mentioned earlier, they might get hurt a little bit. But I don't think the power rankings go out the window. I don't think that any team changes more than 2 spots, maybe 3 in power rankings with the announcement of hero pools. What do you think, Anura?
I think power rankings will most likely be thrown out the window come week 1 of the Overwatch League when the teams play. You should always be taking these rankings as a grain of salt. We don't know how well they're playing in scrims. We don't know how well they're going to be doing in scrims. With that being said, would I have changed my power rankings a little bit due to this announcement? Probably. I'd probably put like people like the Spark, who's never been good at like having fast metas come after them. But other than that, like I don't see a reason why you would throw them out because most of them are just opinions on teams. You should just take every power ranking with a grain of salt. Like this is this guy's thoughts on this team. Put it into what you think of the team and then spit it out to whatever you feel. With that being said, I don't think it changes that much. I think most of the teams that are on top will stay on top because they've been meta proof for the most part. I don't think everyone's like, oh man, this team's really good at goats. We should rank them higher. So I really, at the end of the day, I think this is fiction for sure. You shouldn't throw them out. You should always take power rankings with a grain of salt and put their thoughts into your own and then spit them out yourself.
Well, I
I
think
do
with
like
the scheduling nightmare and the way that it is, I don't even know how you even do rank-ins for the first 2 months.
You just do Atlantic rankings and you ignore Pacific for sure. I think that's how you do it. 1 through 10.
I can see that. So obviously the other big thing that I know you guys had touched upon this past week was the new deal in regards to the broadcast terms, which, we saw the Overwatch League, Call of Duty League, as well as Hearthstone Esports all moving to YouTube. Now, I want a side note really quick. COD League did okay viewership, like, 50K average. Hearthstone Esports did not advertise for shit, dropped like 85% viewership, and I'm a little worried. But luckily, Overwatch League has been advertising. But we need to see, how much of the Twitch viewership came down to drops and the All Access Pass. So a lot of people have been clamoring for a new command center for YouTube. Do you guys feel like we'll get something like that unveiled before the mid-season tournament?
Oh, we better. I think it's needed. I think we really need it. I think we need something for YouTube that's better for the hardcore viewers. I think the Twitch All Access Pass was super super dope. It was like the NFL Red Zone Pass that you'd get for, but it's for Overwatch. Like, it was super cool. I think they realized like the need for that, as well as token drops. I think token drops are huge. The fact they're not coming in the weeks that the Brigida goat skin isn't available, I think that's going to be a huge weird. I don't think there's going to be nearly as many people getting that skin. Or maybe I think that you're going to see an initial drop for Overwatch League until those things come up. I think it's a necessity. I really think they're going to have it before the midseason tournament. If not, it's gonna have to be for season 4 Overwatch League.
I definitely think they have something like this in the works. With the way that the YouTube deal was revealed, like day of Call of Duty League starting, might mean that they really didn't have time to work on anything, because it seems like they got the deal like a week ago, wasn't it that? So I think that a new command center type thing will be here um, before mid-season tournament. I would think probably. Um, Now the question: does the command center beat the arrival of your newly ordered jerseys? Because mid-season it might be about the same, but I think that something that I haven't heard talked about is everyone's talking about the token drops. I think that last year when they started debuting your picks that you do on the Overwatch League website, I think that might be how they're going to do token drops in this season. I haven't heard anything about it yet, but you can link your BattleNet account to the Overwatch League website that streams the games to YouTube. So I don't see why they couldn't use those picks that they added at the end of last season to be the way to distribute tokens instead of doing it random drops just from watching. Um, I do think that, I mean, personally, I didn't get the drops because of the way I screen mirrored it through a TV most of the time. So I'm not like real big on the skins in the game or anything. So the drops doesn't really affect me, but I think that those picks might be the drops of this season, and I think that the new command center will be here before mid-season tournament, making that a fact.
Yeah, I really hope we do get that, because I know there are a ton of people out there who would basically just throw on Twitch just to get the drops. Maybe they wouldn't always watch, and they would, watch it on their TV if they had access to it. But, the console Twitch apps always sucked, and I'm very hopeful for how YouTube is going to turn out in that regard, just because of how accessible that is across the board. Plus, a higher bit rate doesn't hurt either on that end. But we are here to talk about opening week. So we have New York and Dallas serving as a host this weekend. So we have on Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, we have Toronto Defiant going up against the Paris Eternal and the London Spitfire versus the NYXL. uh, so we got two kind of like interesting matches. We have Paris without Sparkle and Hanbin. Toronto is the Frankenstein roster with a lot of big names and a very questionable or optimistic tank line, so to speak. And then you have the London team, who no one really doesn't know how to like equate to at this point. And then you have a powerhouse team in New York, who on paper, based on all the teams that are at this homestand event, are the only good team. Because the other teams there are, well, really the only other team is Boston Uprising. So, yeah, that's interesting. So we got those two games on Saturday, and then Sunday we have Spitfire versus the Eternal, and Uprising versus the Excelsior. Now, I want to get your guys' thoughts on what you feel like out of this slot is going to be the match of the homestand, so to speak. And, maybe if you guys want to do tips along the way as well in regards to who you think is going to come out on top, that works as well.
I'm going to go first with this one. Let me talk about the most important match. The most important match is literally the first one, Toronto Defiant versus Paris Eternal. Because Paris Eternal has nothing to lose this match. If they win it, they're like, yeah, we just won with a backup off tank and our backup DPS. And if they lose, they're like, well, we didn't have our starting off tank or our starting DPS coming into the league. With Toronto Defiant, they have everything to prove. A lot of people are doubting this team. I think a lot of people are doubting Beast as a player. I think this is a big Atlantic who's actually better than people thought. For me, that's the game I'm looking out for. I think the other games are going to be super cool. I'm excited to see whatever London is. I think New York's just going to destroy. But depending on how good either Defiant or Paris is, I think it's super interesting out of this homestand. I think those are the two I'm looking out for.
Yeah, I think say game of the homestand as in closest game, I would definitely think that the Toronto Paris game will be the closest. I think that Toronto would come out ahead if you were going to take my pick. I think that with the New York homestand, this being the first New York homestand, they definitely have it set for New York to not drop a map. I 100% expect New York to 3-0 London and Boston. And if you're a New York fan, that might be one of the games of the homestands for you. But for me, I think that the Toronto Paris game is going to be the closest. And then, we all have London ranked super low. But if they can come out and put up a good performance against Paris, that'd be pretty interesting. I don't even think they have a chance to put up a performance against New York. And I would pick Paris to beat London as well in this homestand.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that if I'm looking at the replay time for the individual New York Excelsior matches, they're probably both going to be under an hour. If I had to guess, in that regard, depending on how much downtime there is in between maps, mind you. For me, like, I'm mostly intrigued by London versus Paris, not just because it is EU versus EU. Team location-wise, not actual teams. Because talent definitely is not all from there. But, those are two teams that I, in particular, had in the bottom 5. And, Paris isn't there at full strength, and London just has so many wild cards. And I just want to see if Glister alone is going to be the backbone of this team, or if we're just kind of underestimating the other pieces that are built around him at this point. But if you're New York, like, you're probably feeling pretty good right now. I don't think Dallas is going to be saying the same. Because Dallas has it I wouldn't say rough. They have like a 50-50, homestand event, essentially. So in the Dallas homestand event, we have more intrigue in matches, I would say personally. On Saturday, and this is starting at 2 p.m. Pacific time, we had the Gladiators going up against the Titans. Saturday at 4, we got the Valiant versus the Fuel. And then moving into Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time, we have the Valiant versus the Titans, with the final match being the Shock, defending champions, going up against the Fuel. And, I get it. Shock are there to be not necessarily like the draw at a Dallas homestand event, but, you want to save the biggest match that you can think of as a last one for at least a home team. Unfortunately, that's, to me, definitely not the best match of the weekend. That definitely goes to the LA Gladiators going against the Titans. But there's a scene in wrestling that they like to say in regards to like events where you want to send the crowd home happy. This is more true with like house shows. I don't know how happy the Dallas fans are going to be leaving the arena, knowing that they're going up against the Shock. I don't know how competitive it's going to be, but I will say, we have heard changes to the Dallas Fuel because they did announce some recent stuff. Mickey is moving on to Team Envy in regards to content creation. No longer competing. And they did just promote Crimzo, also from Team Envy, which I'm really happy about. That kid has been popping off for quite some time now, and I'm shocked it took this long in order to see him getting bumped up to the Overwatch League at this point. But, despite all of the potential that Dallas has, Shock are honestly still in a league of their own at this point. But, at least Dallas has a very good opportunity to not walk away 0-2, because that would be the worst case scenario that anyone could be in at this point. And I don't think you want to start any homestand off on the wrong foot like that.
Yeah, I definitely will agree. I think that the Gladiators Titans is probably going to be the most intense, closest game of the opening weekend. And I'm pretty stoked to see Fissure in the green. Is he going to start off performing at that high level? And I think that we'll get some answers there. I do want to bring up one thing. Anura, we talked about making a bet earlier, season long, that Dallas and Valiant. Why don't we just change that to this game right here? I think that Dallas will totally knock out LA Valiant on Saturday, and I think that we're going to see Vancouver going undefeated this weekend.
Wait, are we just talking about the Dallas Valiant game? Or are we talking about the?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
because the Gladiators
earlier-
Vancouver, I just want it to be close. At the end of the day, as a Gladiators fan, I just want it to be close. If it's a blowout, I'm gonna be sad. At the end of the day, if we're close against Vancouver, it's Vancouver Titans. I'm not gonna be mad about that. With the Valiant game versus Dallas Fuel, yeah, I'll take that bet any day. I think Valiant is very. I think I highly rate Gig as someone who could be an upcoming talent for this team. And I think Dallas Fuel has some if some people are upcoming, these are downgoing talents with Closer and Gamsu. There's some rumors going around that they're not up to snuff as they were previously. But with that being said, I'll gladly take that bet. I think it's for a in-game skin.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I'll definitely
said that earlier.
Yeah, it's for in-game skin. I'll definitely take the bet that Valiant will beat Dallas Fuel this week.
Earlier we made a bet that I said Dallas would have more wins in the season, and you said LA Valiant, and I was like, why don't we can just move that up to this game right here this weekend, and we'll have an answer. Because I don't see LA Valiant pulling off a win at all this weekend. Dallas has Decay, and now they picked up Crimzo. We've been hearing about him literally since like the beginning of last season about him needing a team. So I think that the Valiant might be pretty easy work for Dallas this weekend. And then they go up against the Shock. And I don't see a world where Dallas can beat the Shock. I'd bet the house on the Shock, and the odds would probably only pay me out like $1 or two because that's how much of a favorite that the Shock are going into this game.
Yeah, I wonder if the odds are up yet on the betting sites, to be honest, just so I can see.
Gambling in esports is illegal where I'm from, so I don't do that.
Well, sports gambling licenses in Illinois have been getting approved.
Well, I'm very, very close to where you can go and gamble on sports right across the lines into Indiana, but they have all esports banned. They have like an approved list that you can gamble on, and there are no esports. So,
womp womp.
You can bet on darts, but not on Overwatch League.
I'm trying to see if they were up yet. Just out of curiosity. All right, okay. Here's the odds for Dallas Shock. Dallas are plus 380. Shock are favored minus 667 on the money line. Let's see the one that you guys were betting on. Dallas versus the Valiant. Dallas is favored minus 204 versus the Valiant underdogs at plus 149.
That's not that bad. So I'd like to talk about the Dallas Fuel Shock game. The only way they're gonna win it is if the crowd goes absolutely insane and somehow scares the Shock. That's the only way they're getting in. And I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Shock already played in the bigger stage with the grand finals. I'm gonna talk about the Gladiators and Vancouver Titans game. This game is really a big what if Fisher works out and what if Gladiators DPS works out. Really, if one of them falls, you can see the other one winning. If one of them exceeds, you can see one of them winning. I feel like this game is actually very exciting compared to, I think, any other game in this weekend. It's cool seeing all the new teams and seeing how well they're going to do. But for now, I think just based off rankings alone, they're pretty close. I think most people had Gladiators around the 12-8 mark, and then Vancouver around 6-2. So it's all depending. But it's very interesting to see these two teams both. Also, I think one thing we need to talk about is how Fisher has played against the LA Gladiators all 3 seasons. He started against like the first game for the Gladiators, the first game for Fisher. He's always played against the Gladiators. So this is like a rivalry that's like now spanning seasons.
Yeah, but to that point though, this is also almost a completely different Gladiators team outside of the support line
and the coaching staff. And the coaching staff. I'm saying like it's there.
He's
like
done well,
yeah, true.
My big question is Fisher actually going to be wearing the bumper jacket out on stage?
I hope.
And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go on the competitive Overwatch Reddit for the Fisher got no chill thread.
That's a brand. I didn't know that. I thought he was just trying to like start some trash, but that's like a brand that other people wear too.
It's fine though, because the sentiment still stands.
It's still great. It's still amazing. Brand or not, let them go for the Overwatch League. Get out Staple and just bring in Bumper. Right. But at the end of I think that's gonna be great. I think Fisher's about to have some trash talk in his little head. Maybe before the game. I hope there's some good trash talk coming in. I think with the homestand system, I'm hoping we'll see a lot more of that coming in.
There's been a ton in the COD League. A lot of it.
That's what it's about. That's what COD League is about. That's what Call of
Mhm.
Duty is all about. I think they'll learn a few things from COD League for sure.
Yeah, now, obviously with the move to YouTube, we don't know what the viewership is going to be looking like. I want to say I saw COD League peak at like 102,000, and that was during the Chicago Huntsman game versus LA Optic, which was a rivalry in naming alone because the real Optic is in Chicago now and not in LA. LA just took the name. There's a whole backstory to all of that. But that got 102K. But, for the most part, it was averaging around 50,000. Now, looking back at the Overwatch League, viewership was kind of, it was okay, throughout this past season. A lot of times it was sitting between like 80 to 100,000 viewers. What are you guys realistically expecting to see in regards to opening weekend? And on that note, what do you guys feel like is going to be the big draw in regards to matches? What will have like the peak viewership for opening week?
I think peak viewership likely could be the first match, just because it's been so long since we've even had any Overwatch League that a lot of people will be excited for it to be coming back. Um, I think that numbers will probably stay close to the same going to YouTube, because if you really think about it, is there anyone that does not use YouTube? Like, are there do you there's no like people that are hard boycotting YouTube, even if you prefer Twitch, you use YouTube sometimes. So I think that we're going to keep pretty consistent viewers, but I think that the opening is probably going to be close to the peak. If not, then I think the Gladiators Vancouver game has a pretty decent draw. Plenty of people wanting to see Fisher in that green.
For me, I'm not looking for a lot right now. I think it's gonna be around 80. I'm not expecting too much for an opening weekend on YouTube. I think COD League got a lot because it was the first. You want to see what the COD League's like. That's what I did. That's why I watched COD League. I think I'm gonna watch more. I think I enjoyed it a lot. I think it was a great product. But for me personally, I'm not expecting a lot, and I'm not expecting a lot for Overwatch League until they up their product to be more less around goats, which I mean they're already doing, but you know what I'm talking about, like more highlights, more recommendations into Overwatch League. I think that's right now. I think it's going to take a dip, and I think later on it's going to go higher. That's why I like this multi-year deal, because I don't think. First off, I think the money is going into the homestands. If the homestands are successful, for me, Overwatch League is successful as soon as the homestands are successful,
Mm-hmm.
and then the viewership will come second. And then once YouTube figures out what's going on with live streaming, they make it more accessible, easier to see. Oh, wait, the Overwatch League is on. Let me check it out. Like Twitch is. I think that's when it's really going to start popping. But right now, I'm not expecting a lot. I'm expecting a good amount because it's Overwatch League. I'm not going to be lowballing it, but I think 80 to 70, hopefully 100K at max, but like around 80 70 average would be great for the opening week.
Well, at least it's not being announced like an hour before, like it was for COD.
True.
'Cause
Exactly.
that was
Yeah.
that was pretty rough when they were like at 40 to 50K. For me, like if I'd be happy at 60K, just knowing that I am going to expect
Yep.
a drop. But I will say, like once hero pools are introduced to the game, to Overwatch League, I feel like that is going to do wonders for just casual viewership and attracting new viewers, because the likelihood that they'll be seeing something different is at the highest that it's ever been, really, since the game came out at this point, because teams are going to be offering different looks more so than it did before. I'm probably not just constantly running nothing but mirror matches at that point. So I'm excited to see how that's going to impact the viewership across the board. But it's the other thing too is like we're gonna have games a lot earlier now. That's ranging from like noon Central Time, as late as 6 p.m. Central Time at least with these homestand events, and obviously that's gonna fluctuate a lot based on where some of these matches are getting hosted. But everything being set to local times based on the local market for the homestand event is a smart move. Gonna be a little bit rough on the schedule, since I always have to work during the weekends and I don't always have Mondays off, so I'm gonna have to sort that out. Hopefully, I can get Mondays off, so if I do need to catch up, I can do that before the podcast, all that good stuff. But 60 to 70 would be the sweet spot for me in regards to viewership. Bottom of the barrel, like, I would just want to match what COD League did. Anything below that would be kind of a disappointment in my eyes.
I think I'll match COD League for sure. I think COD League had lower viewerships before they were COD League, the COD World, whatever they wanted to call it. And I think Overwatch League has more viewers in general. I hope it can match. With that being said, I think Overwatch League in China is going to be next level viewers because most of them are stuck in their rooms because of the coronavirus. I really think that the Chinese viewership is going to have a huge rise. Because what are they gonna do? They can't
They're
go
streaming.
outside a lot. Yeah, they're streaming a lot. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of like analytics about how good this is for streaming services in China. As bad as the coronavirus is, I can
Mhm.
see this be a huge boost for Chinese Overwatch League viewers. I think that's honestly where the market should be bigger. It's probably where they want it to be bigger. So I think at the end of the day, as homestands are filled, um, hopefully none of the other ones get canceled because that's going to hurt as well. I think Overwatch League's gonna be fun.
Absolutely. So, any other final notes before we wrap things up for tonight? Nope. All
Yeah,
right.
go Glads. Other than that, I'm good.
All right. So, with that being said, guys, if you guys are looking to help us out, the best thing to do is to head over to iTunes and write us a review. Let us know how we're doing. If you want to find more content, check out Overwatch Recall on our website. Weekly Recall is posted every Sunday with all the episodic listings from that past week. And if you'd like to support us, consider pledging via Patreon. We have tiers starting at just $1 a month. So you can find more info at patreon.com/OWL Network, where you too can join the likes of our master and above patrons in Blazing Bob, Brendan, JZ, Owl, Kesha, and Agent Life in helping our network grow. So every little bit greatly helps with that. It will help us with hosting the podcast, also giveaways, which we're gonna have more of that stuff coming up in regards to, maybe fantasy Overwatch League stuff with High Noon.gg, game nights, watch parties, maybe. I don't know. We'll figure that stuff out, but I do want to do some of the watch parties again for the Overwatch League season. More than likely to be some of like the later games on like Saturday or Sunday, based on the way that the schedule is looking like nowadays on that front. But with that being said, Booger, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners know how they can get a hold of our network?
Yeah, if you want to send an email to the show, you can send an email to contact@owlnshow.com. Our website is owlnshow.com. You can find the show on Twitter at owlnshow. Our YouTube is youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. The Discord is discord.me/OWLN show. Um, you can watch the show on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLN show. And we are a Twitch affiliate, so you can help support by subscribing to the channel and earn the network emoticons. Um, we have shows that come on the network. This show, Overwatch League Network, is every Monday at 7 p.m. PT. On Tuesdays, you have Overwatch League by the Numbers at 6 p.m. PT. Wednesdays is Heroes Never Die, a variety Overwatch show at 5 p.m. PT. And host streams are when available and run on a flex schedule. So make sure you follow us and you'll be notified when we go live. And we also have the Patreon, patreon.com/OWL network, which Totem talked about earlier. And if you want to contact me personally, you can see my Twitter at Booger Brains with two Z's, BOOGERBRAINZZ. And over the past week, I just remembered this. I met up with one of my friends from high school. He was really into Overwatch, and I told him about the podcast, and he sent me a message and said he'd listened to some of the episodes. And I told him that I'd give him a shout out. So, shout out to Johnny. We've been friends for a long time, and now he likes Overwatch League. So, that's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Do y'all want, yeah. Do y'all want to tell the listeners where they can contact y'all personally?
So I'm Anura, and you can contact me on Twitter at ANURAOW. So just I tweet whatever I want. I don't really care. But if you want to follow me, just get a whole bunch of crap on your Twitter feed. Feel free to follow me there. It'd be great.
And you can also find myself, Tumbly Drunk, on Twitter at TumblyDrunkCTR, where I'll be playing the role of acting soul apologist, probably the majority of the season, depending on if they flounder or not. And I should get back to streaming hopefully this week, if all things align properly, twitch.tv/TrumblyDrunk. But with that being said, guys, I want to thank you again for sticking with us here tonight on Overwatch League Network. This has been episode 112. I've been your host, Tumbly Drunk, joined as always by my co-hosts Anura and Booger. And we will see you hopefully in Discord this weekend during some of the games. Just, hanging out, talking Overwatch League, all of that good stuff. You guys take care and have a good night.